The 9-year-old magician had just completed his first performance on The Tonight Show. His hands were still trembling. The audience had clapped, but he felt he had made mistakes. In his mind, he had ruined his chance. As he began to leave the stage, Johnny Carson stopped him. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, leaned in, and whispered something in his ear, something the cameras didn't catch, something the audience could not hear. Just 7 words, meant only for a nervous 9-year-old who thought he had failed. Instantly, the boy's expression shifted, from disappointment to resolve, from fear to hope. Whatever Johnny said, it changed him. For the next 30 years, no one knew what Johnny whispered that night. The boy, now a world-famous magician, refused to share it. "That was just between me and Johnny," he would say when asked. But in 2015, 6 years after Johnny had passed away, he finally revealed those 7 words. And when people heard what Carson had told that anxious child, it became clear why the secret had been kept for so long. Johnny's words weren't merely advice for performing. They were a gift, a private message between mentor and student. 7 words that turned a scared boy into one of the most successful magicians alive. This is the story of those 7 words, and why Johnny Carson's greatest magic never involved tricks at all. November 3, 1979. NBC Studio 1, Burbank, California. 9-year-old Michael Chun stood backstage at The Tonight Show, gripping a deck of cards, trying not to be sick. This was it. His moment, the opportunity every young performer dreams of. Michael had been practicing magic since he was 5, starting with simple card tricks his grandfather taught him. By 7, he was performing at birthday parties. By 9, he had progressed enough to catch the attention of someone at NBC. But nothing, not birthday parties, practice sessions, or local talent shows, could prepare him for this. The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, 20 million viewers watching. Michael's mom sat in the green room, trying to stay calm. His hands trembled uncontrollably, the cards slipping through his fingers. "You're going to be great," she said, though her own voice shook. Michael nodded, unable to speak. A production assistant appeared. "You're on in 2 minutes." Johnny finished his monologue and settled at his desk. "Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is 9 years old, here to show us some magic. Please welcome Michael Chun." The applause was warm and encouraging, the kind you give a child before knowing if they are any good. Michael stepped onto the stage feeling lightheaded. The lights were blinding, the audience enormous, and Johnny Carson, the Johnny Carson, was smiling directly at him. "Hey there, Michael. How are you tonight?" "Good," Michael managed to squeak, his voice cracking. A few gentle chuckles came from the audience. "You brought some cards, I see. Going to show us some magic?" "Yes, sir." "Well, I can't wait. Show us what you've got." Michael began with his best trick, the one he had performed flawlessly countless times, a card disappearing and reappearing. Simple, classic. But his hands were shaking so badly that on the second move, he fumbled. The card appeared too early. The trick failed. A few sympathetic sounds came from the audience. Michael's face flushed red, but he pressed on. He performed the next trick, which went better. Then another. By the 4th trick, his hands had steadied somewhat. The audience applauded. It was polite, encouraging. But Michael knew the truth. He had made mistakes. His big moment, and he had stumbled. As the applause faded, Michael began to walk off stage, head down, trying not to cry on national television. But Johnny stood up from his desk and walked over, stopping him. "Hold on, Michael. Come here for a second." Michael turned, nervous. Was Johnny going to point out his mistakes? Reveal to everyone that he had failed? Johnny knelt to meet him at eye level and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. Then, quietly, so only Michael could hear, he whispered 7 words. 7 words Michael would carry for the next 30 years. Instantly, Michael's expression changed. Disappointment faded, replaced by something deeper, confidence, hope, the freedom to be imperfect. Johnny straightened and addressed the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a future star here. Michael, come back and see us again, okay?" "Really?" Michael asked, stunned. "Really? You've got talent, kid. Keep practicing." The audience erupted into a genuine standing ovation. Michael left the stage not as a child who had failed, but as one who had been truly seen. Johnny wasn't just being kind. He meant it. A month later, Michael returned to The Tonight Show. And the month after that, and the month after that. Over the next 2 years, Michael performed on the show 17 times, more than most professional magicians. even those who had been performing for decades. After each performance, Johnny brought Michael backstage. They discussed magic, showmanship, what worked and what didn't. But beyond tricks, Johnny taught Michael something far more important: how to connect with an audience, how to make them feel, how to turn a magic trick into an experience. The trick itself doesn't matter, Johnny once told him. People forget tricks, but they remember how you made them feel. Give them wonder, and they'll remember you forever. Michael absorbed every lesson, not just the advice, but the care. Johnny treated him as someone who mattered, whose dreams were worth nurturing. As Michael grew and his career flourished, people asked about Johnny, about those 17 Tonight Show appearances, about what it was like to be mentored by a legend. Michael always answered questions about Johnny, how generous he was, how patient, and how much he had learned from him. But there was one question Michael never answered. What did Johnny whisper to you that first night? Reporters asked. Fellow magicians asked. Fans asked. Michael's reply was always the same. That was just between me and Johnny. People pushed, offered money for the story, tried to guess, but Michael never gave in. Whatever Johnny had said that night, it was private, a gift not meant to be shared. Michael Chun went on to become one of the most successful magicians of his generation. He headlined in Las Vegas, starred in his own TV specials, toured internationally, and became a performer young magicians admired. Yet through all of it, he never forgot Johnny's lessons, not just about magic, but about kindness, about recognizing potential in people, about lifting others up. Michael began mentoring young performers himself, giving them opportunities when they were nervous, believing in them when they didn't believe in themselves. I'm just doing what Johnny did for me, Michael would say. January 23, 2005. Michael was in his Las Vegas dressing room preparing for a show when he heard the news. Johnny Carson had died, emphysema, at the age of 79. Michael sank into a chair, turned off the lights, and cried. He had known it was coming. Johnny had been ill for some time. But knowing didn't make the loss any easier. That night, before his performance, Michael stood on stage and told the audience he needed a moment. He spoke about Johnny, about what he had meant to him, about how a 9-year-old boy would never have become who he was without Johnny's kindness. The audience gave Johnny a standing ovation, a theater full of people applauding a man who was no longer there, yet whose influence was everywhere. By 2015, Michael was 45, still performing, still at the top of his career. He was being interviewed for a documentary about The Tonight Show, about Johnny's legacy, and about the performers he had supported. The interviewer asked the question everyone always asked. What did Johnny whisper to you that first night? Michael had given his standard answer countless times, but this time felt different. Perhaps it was because Johnny had been gone for 10 years. Perhaps it was because Michael was older now, with children of his own. Or maybe it was simply time. You really want to know? Michael asked. The interviewer nodded. Michael took a deep breath. Johnny had leaned down and said, "You're already good enough. Just have fun." The interviewer waited, expecting more. That's it. That's all, Michael said. 7 words. You're already good enough. Just have fun. The interviewer looked puzzled. But that's wonderful advice. Why keep it secret for 30 years? Michael smiled. Because when you're 9 years old, and you've just messed up on The Tonight Show in front of 20 million people, and Johnny Carson, the biggest star on television, tells you that you're already good enough, it doesn't feel like advice. It feels like permission. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I spent my whole childhood trying to be perfect, trying to prove I was good enough, trying to belong. And in 7 words, Johnny gave me permission to stop trying so hard, to just enjoy it, to have fun. Michael's eyes grew a little misty. That changed everything for me. Not just my performing, but my life. I stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be present. That's when the magic improved. That's when everything improved. When Michael's interview aired, something unexpected happened. The story went viral, not because it was shocking or dramatic, but because it was simple and powerful. You're already good enough. Just have fun. Parents began saying it to their children before games, recitals, and tests. Teachers said it to nervous students. Performers shared it backstage. 7 words that Johnny had whispered to a 9-year-old became a mantra for anyone trying too hard to be perfect. Messages started pouring in, hundreds of them. People shared how Johnny's words, now carried by Michael, had helped them. A college student preparing for a presentation. A single father trying to be a perfect parent. A musician about to record their first album. You're already good enough. Just have fun. Today, Michael still performs, still tours, still amazes audiences with his magic. But he is also recognized for something else, mentoring young performers. He gives them stage time, teaches them tricks, shares what Johnny taught him. Yet the most important lesson isn't about magic at all. Before every young performer goes on stage, nervous, scared, trying to be perfect, Michael leans down, places a hand on their shoulder, and says 7 words. You're already good enough. Just have fun. Then Michael tells them about Johnny. About a 9-year-old boy who messed up on national television. About a legend who could have moved on but chose to see potential instead. About how 7 words can change a life. Pass it on, Michael tells them. That's what Johnny would want. Here's what Michael understands now that he didn't understand at 9. Johnny's real gift wasn't the 17 Tonight Show appearances. It wasn't the mentorship or the career boost. It was permission. Permission to not be perfect. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to enjoy the process instead of focusing only on the outcome. In a world that constantly tells us we're never good enough, that we must try harder, be better, do more, Johnny told a 9-year-old the opposite. You're already good enough. Now stop trying so hard and have some fun. That advice was revolutionary, for a young magician and for anyone. Michael was asked once why he thought Johnny whispered it instead of saying it aloud. I think Johnny knew that if he said it in front of everyone, it would become about the audience, about giving them a nice moment. But by whispering it just to me, it became about me. It became real. Not a TV moment, a human moment. That was Johnny's gift. Knowing when to perform and when to simply be human. When to make it about the show and when to make it about the person. Johnny Carson has been gone for 20 years. The Tonight Show he hosted is history. Television has changed completely. But 7 words he whispered to a 9-year-old are still being passed on. Michael to his students. Those students to theirs. Parents to children. Teachers to students. Friends to friends. You're already good enough. Just have fun. It's not just advice for performers. It's advice for life. Stop striving for perfection. Stop worrying if you're good enough. You are. Now go have some fun. People always ask Michael what his best magic trick is. The one that amazes people the most. His answer surprises them. The greatest trick I ever learned wasn't done with cards or props, he says. It's what Johnny taught me. The trick of making someone feel like they matter, like they're already enough. That's the real magic. Everything else is just entertainment. And that is Johnny Carson's real legacy. Not the jokes, not the interviews, not 30 years of The Tonight Show, but the hundreds of lives he touched by seeing people, really seeing them, and telling them in whatever way they needed to hear it. You're already good enough. Michael Chun was 9 years old when Johnny whispered 7 words that changed his life. He's 54 now, and he has spent the last 45 years proving Johnny right. Not by being perfect, but by having fun, enjoying magic, and passing on the gift he received. That is the greatest magic trick of all, not making something disappear, but making someone believe in themselves. If this story inspired you, think of someone in your life who needs to hear these 7 words. Maybe your child before a big game. Maybe a friend starting something new. Maybe even yourself in the mirror tomorrow morning. You're already good enough. Just have fun. Subscribe for more stories about the unexpected ways legends change lives. Hit the like button if you needed to hear Johnny's words today. And share this with someone trying too hard to be perfect. They need to hear it too. Because the greatest gift you can give someone isn't advice, criticism, or pushing them to be better. Sometimes, it's just permission to be enough, exactly as they are. Johnny gave that gift to a 9-year-old magician. And that 9-year-old spent his life passing it on.